You have been stressed, and your body has been listening. Every time you feel pressure, anxiety, overwhelm, or tension, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol has one primary instruction for your fat cells: store. And store it here, right around your belly, right around your organs. But here is what makes the stressed belly different from every other form of weight gain. Cortisol does not just tell your existing fat cells to get bigger. Research published in a landmark 2026 study confirmed that cortisol is one of the few signals that can create entirely new fat cells in adults. It activates dormant stem cells called pre-adipocytes in your abdominal tissue and tells them to mature into brand new, functioning fat cells. Your stressed belly is not just growing. It is multiplying at the cellular level. Welcome to Cellfresco. One belief drives everything we do here. Every cell has a healing food. Today we go inside your stress hormones and your fat cells to show you exactly how chronic stress creates belly fat at the cellular level, and the specific foods that send counter signals to block each mechanism. Here is what we cover today. First, the issue. 3 specific cellular mechanisms by which cortisol creates and defends belly fat. Second, the solution. 3 specific foods, each targeting one cellular mechanism. Third, your daily protocol. And finally, your action plan. Now the story. Cortisol is not your enemy. In small doses, it is essential. It wakes you up in the morning. It helps you respond to challenges. It regulates your blood sugar and your immune system. In a healthy, low-stress life, cortisol peaks in the morning and falls through the day. Your body uses it and moves on. But in the modern world, chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated throughout the day and into the night. And research from Northwell Health and confirmed by multiple studies confirms that elevated cortisol levels are directly and consistently linked to visceral adipose tissue accumulation, the fat that surrounds your internal organs, the most metabolically dangerous fat in your body. And the cellular mechanisms behind this accumulation are specific, researched, and powerful. Cellular problem 1. Cortisol is creating brand new fat cells in your abdomen. Research published in 2026 confirmed the mechanism. Cortisol acts as a powerful differentiation factor. It binds to receptors on pre-adipocytes, the dormant fat cell stem cells living in your abdominal tissue, and sends one precise signal: mature. Become a functioning fat cell. Now, this is called hyperplasia, and it is uniquely dangerous because most weight gain happens through hypertrophy, existing fat cells getting bigger. But cortisol-driven hyperplasia means you are gaining entirely new fat cells. And once a fat cell exists, it never disappears. It can shrink, but it stays, forever sending hunger signals, forever pulling toward regaining the weight you lost. Cortisol is not just making you gain belly fat. It is permanently expanding the cellular architecture of your abdominal fat tissue. Cellular problem 2. Cortisol is flooding your blood with glucose and driving fat storage. When cortisol is released, it signals your liver to release stored glucose into your bloodstream. This was designed for survival. Run from the threat. Use the energy. But when the threat is a deadline, a difficult relationship, or financial pressure, there is no running. The glucose floods in. Insulin spikes in response. And that insulin spike sends a direct fat storage signal to your visceral fat cells. Research from the NIH confirms that chronic stress and elevated cortisol levels disrupt metabolic processes, leading to increased cravings for high-calorie foods and insulin-driven fat storage in the abdominal region. The stress does not just make you want to eat more, it makes your cells store more of what you eat, regardless of the amount. Cellular problem 3. Cortisol is increasing your appetite and making comfort food irresistible. Cortisol directly increases appetite, particularly for high-calorie, sugary, and fatty foods. Research confirms that cortisol enhances the pleasurable effect of highly palatable foods, making comfort foods taste even better when you're stressed. This creates a cycle. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol raises appetite. Elevated appetite drives overeating. Overeating raises insulin. Insulin drives fat into visceral storage. More visceral fat drives more cortisol, and the cycle continues. 3 cellular mechanisms working simultaneously, all driven by the same root signal: chronic stress, and 3 specific foods send counter signals to each one. Food 1. Dark chocolate, the cortisol blocking signal. Dark chocolate with a minimum of 85% cocoa contains flavonols and theobromine that directly reduce cortisol levels at the cellular level. Research published in multiple studies confirms that regular dark chocolate consumption measurably reduces salivary cortisol levels and perceived stress. And the mechanism is specific. The flavonols in dark chocolate activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state that directly counteracts the fight or flight cortisol response. They also reduce the activity of the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis that controls cortisol production, directly lowering the cellular signal driving new fat cell creation. But dark chocolate also contains magnesium, and magnesium is one of the most important minerals for cortisol regulation. The adrenal glands require magnesium to regulate cortisol production. Chronic stress depletes magnesium. Magnesium deficiency worsens the cortisol response. Dark chocolate replenishes this critical mineral, breaking the depletion cycle. You're not eating chocolate, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system and suppressing HPA axis activity to reduce the cortisol signal, creating new fat cells in your abdomen. 2 squares of 85% dark chocolate every afternoon. Your cortisol blocking protocol. Food 2, ashwagandha root, the cortisol production shutdown signal. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic root that has been used for thousands of years and is now one of the most extensively researched natural cortisol regulators in existence. And its cellular mechanism is specific and powerful. Ashwagandha contains withanolides, compounds that directly modulate the HPA axis by acting on the hypothalamic receptors that initiate the cortisol stress cascade. Research published in a double-blind placebo-controlled study confirmed that ashwagandha root extract significantly reduced cortisol levels, reduced perceived stress and anxiety scores, and measurably reduced body weight in chronically stressed adults compared to placebo. At the cellular level, withanolides reduced the sensitivity of the HPA axis to stress signals. The same stress that previously triggered a large cortisol spike triggers a smaller, more controlled response. Less cortisol means less pre-adipocyte activation, less new fat cell creation, less visceral fat accumulation. You are not taking a supplement. You are reducing the sensitivity of your stress hormone axis to the triggers that have been creating new fat cells in your abdomen. Half a teaspoon of ashwagandha powder in warm water or milk every evening. Your cortisol production shutdown protocol. Food 3, fermented foods, the gut cortisol axis repair signal. Here is a connection most people never discover. Your gut bacteria directly influence your cortisol levels through the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve, the longest nerve in your body, connects your gut directly to your brain, and research confirms that the composition of your gut microbiome directly regulates the HPA axis cortisol response. In people with disrupted gut microbiomes, the gut bacteria produce inflammatory signals that amplify the cortisol stress response. More inflammation means a bigger cortisol spike from the same stressor. And as we discussed in our gut episode, people carrying excess weight have disrupted gut microbiomes that are more inflammatory. Fermented foods including kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir deliver lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species that reduce gut inflammation, strengthen the gut-brain axis signaling, and measurably reduce HPA axis reactivity. Research confirms that probiotic supplementation from fermented food sources reduces cortisol levels and reduces the inflammatory markers that amplify the stress cortisol response. You are not eating fermented vegetables. You are repairing the gut-brain axis that is amplifying your cortisol response and driving your stress belly. A small serving of kimchi, sauerkraut, or kefir every single day. Now your daily protocol: 3 foods, 3 cellular signals, every day. Afternoon, 2 squares of 85% dark chocolate, your parasympathetic activation and HPA axis suppression signal. Cortisol production reduced, new fat cell creation slowed. Evening, half a teaspoon of ashwagandha in warm water or milk, your HPA axis desensitization protocol. Stress response modulated, cortisol spike reduced overnight. Any meal, a serving of kimchi, sauerkraut, or kefir, your gut-brain axis repair signal, gut inflammation reduced. HPA, cortisol amplification blocked. What to eliminate immediately? Caffeine after 2 p.m. directly elevates cortisol and disrupts sleep, which is one of the most powerful cortisol drivers. Ultra-processed foods increase gut inflammation, amplifying the cortisol stress response. Alcohol disrupts sleep architecture, causing cortisol to spike overnight. Poor sleep is the single most powerful driver of elevated daily cortisol. These are not just lifestyle suggestions. They are direct cellular signals that maintain the chronic cortisol elevation, creating your stress belly. Now your action plan. 3 cellular problems, 3 healing foods, 3 signals. Dark chocolate every afternoon. Activates parasympathetic nervous system and suppresses HPA axis to reduce cortisol-driven fat cell creation. Ashwagandha every evening. Modulates HPA axis sensitivity to reduce cortisol production from chronic stress triggers. Fermented foods every day. Repairs gut-brain axis to reduce the inflammatory amplification of the cortisol stress response. Start today. Dark chocolate this afternoon, ashwagandha tonight, kimchi or kefir with dinner. Your stress belly is not a willpower failure. It is a hormonal signal problem. Cortisol has been creating new fat cells in your abdomen. flooding your blood with glucose, making comfort food irresistible. And 3 specific foods send the exact cellular counter signals to each of these mechanisms. If this video finally explained why stress makes you gain weight in your belly specifically, please give it a thumbs up right now. It helps more people find this channel, and it means everything to us. Subscribe to Cellfresco. Every cell has a healing food, and every week we show you exactly which one. In our next video, we bring everything together. The complete 30-day fat reset protocol, every cellular mechanism we have covered, every healing food. One powerful daily plan that your cells can follow starting tomorrow. Keep healing, keep thriving.